Hello guys, so I know no one is watching yet, but when you're doing a video like this one, you need to start as soon as possible, because if you don't and then the video is later on played, if you then post the video afterwards, the video is going to be, the people that are going to watch it are going to probably watch 5 minutes of you waiting for people to get onto the platform. But you know, people come and go, so you just have to get going. So Brighton, thank you for watching. Brighton, where are you watching from? Can you text there to say, comment where you're watching from? And the title today is the aftermath or the day after the resignation of President Mugabe, who is now the former vice president of Zimbabwe. So I'm just reading some what you call them, posts, some Twitter feed that's coming in. In fact, what I'll do is, oh, Brighton, you're in Harare. Thank you for that. How is the atmosphere in Harare? I'm sure it is still very much hopeful, but I have to say that I think this is the time for people to start realizing that the government will hopefully provide an enabling environment, but as individuals, you still need to pull up your socks and you still need to work very hard, because it's going to be difficult with or without a new government. I think the new government gives people a little bit more hope, but it is not the solution to all of our problems. And I would encourage people to start asking questions. If anyone wants to join in the conversation, they can request to be added and I'll add them. I think what we need to start doing now is asking questions. So ask questions from day one. Whoever comes in needs to be confronted with those questions, and we need to keep asking those questions, because I think the reason we got to where we were up to yesterday was because we have always ignored. Okay, Chinyanga, if you want to join, you can also join in. I think you can always, what's happened is that we never used to ask questions, or we started asking questions when it was rather too late. So I think our problem started before 1985. There were already signs that there are issues, but we probably thought that some of those issues would go away. We thought that these guys knew what they were doing, and so there was very little of asking of the questions that would probably have made them realize that they are doing something wrong. So they probably did not realize it until it was also late, okay, because we were not asking those questions. So we need to start asking questions today. And one of the things I would suggest for those who are interested is to look into entrepreneurship, because I think entrepreneurship is one of the areas which can help to create jobs. I know that with our education, it is easy to get educated, and as soon as you're educated, you're looking for employment. So it's easy to want to look for employment, but our people have already started trying to create their own employment with the hardships that we were going through. So I think that if the environment is made more enabling, then it is going to be easier for people to get into job creation. Let me just read Chinyanga's question. Is ZANU-PF going to let it go and it comes back if it is yours? Well, I don't know if you're referring to power here. is ZANU-PF going to let it go? And if it comes back, it is yours. You're probably referring to power, which means, I suppose, if there's an election, we expect the opposition to win the election. But you're saying if the opposition was to win, would ZANU-PF let it go? Well, I think what we need to work on now are the reforms, electoral reforms, which guarantee, and also just to make a framework, so that when people leave politics, they do not feel like they are losing. They do not feel like they are going to be arrested. They do not feel like they are going to lose the whatever they've accumulated. But obviously we know that some of these guys have accumulated ridiculous amounts of capital, of resources, and they are likely to lose those resources if they leave power. Okay, you're talking about democracy. Yeah, I suppose it's the same thing, really. So what I think has been the problem, and why I think the MDC has not been able to get into power so far, I think it's because there was a fear within the ZANU-PF that if the opposition was to come into power, then some of those guys would get arrested. And I think that was the problem, which is the same problem that ZANU-PF was going through, because ZANU-PF, those people that have been dismissed from the party, just seemed to stop functioning properly like they were functioning before. We could see Mtasa there didn't look very well. Most of the guys who leave, they are threatened with cases which can be brought against them, and they just go quiet. So I think what we need to fix is a guarantee that after retirement or after leaving politics, for whoever, okay, William, let me invite you. I think what we need to do is to ensure that where people have a life after politics, like their pensions are guaranteed. La William.
Yeah.
William. Yes, how are you?
Yes. People.
Zuri say.
Yeah. Ara so daga.
Auna.
Tubani da baras ni madendere gurara tichipemberera. Tazobva paembassy. Tazobva paZimbabwe embassy kuma 3:30 a.m. And
okay.
It was a great thing there. They were all, maybe the population which was there was the white farmers from Zimbabwe and former Rhodesians. It's like, there's a culture here in Britain, and many people in Zimbabwe don't know this culture. Like if someone dies, they lay flowers even where on the spot of what have happened. Those things.
Yes.
So if there is something like a win or a World Cup or something, these people, they automatically go to unite somewhere on a place, and it's not like invited. You just go. There is people there. So these guys, they really know the place where to unite. It is Zimbabwean embassy. When these things of yesterday that Mugabe has resigned, people started coming to the Zimbabwean embassy. Even Sky, even BBC News came to the Zimbabwean embassy. So these are the things which, when you want to celebrate, you don't know which place to go. So you need to go with the wind, with the current. So that is there. So I don't know if it is Downing Street, or some people, they were distributing beer there. I could see cars and vans bringing crates and crates. I could see there were some pieces which were being delivered. A lot of them, boxes and boxes, were just being given to people. Nando's. I don't know where they were coming from. They were just there being piled. They were just being. I thought those things were for homeless people. They said, no, this is for Zimbabweans, for celebrations. So it was just like, it was a great thing. We enjoyed. So
Yeah.
we could not finish that beer. It was, I don't know if some people carried it in. Me, I had a car. I came to park the car there, but later on I had to call somebody to drive me back home.
Oh,
So
that's
I was the one. There's a video I put on my wall there
good. On your
about
wall.
the what really happened. Yeah. So ndinakuenda kubasa ndikatoanaunza kuti kudai vanhu vekuzimbabwe varegedzwa kuenda kubasa vana vechikoro vese to remember this. It's a very important day, you know what I mean? Very important day.
21st
Even
November.
Friday, actually, inaugurate Mnangagwa is a very important day as well. But I've been talking with a colleague. What you are just putting there, I found it very effective. What is the era? What should be done after this Mugabe is gone? Did the MDC people talk to ZANU? What is the way forward for democracy? And I was just saying the question I asked you there. On Mnangagwa's speech, I wanted to do a video to talk, but now I can do it here with you. Is Mnangagwa, what is on Mnangagwa's speech? What is he going to deliver to Zimbabweans? Which the investors will come, which things which can transform Zimbabwe right now. So we want that speech, the speech which will transform Zimbabwe. We want to hear such a thing that me, Mnangagwa, we are going to have fair and free elections. We are even, as our army is there to control Zimbabweans, we are not even afraid for any Tom and Dick observer to come in our country. Even United Nations, anyone who feels free to come and see what we are doing in Zimbabwe is welcome, because it's now a peaceful country. We want our democracy to transform. If I lose, I step down. If Tsvangirai wins, he comes back. But only what we don't want is our military to be tampered with, because in the military is where they are protecting themselves. It's like, but it should not be like that. They should just pass a convention which happened in Chile. They had to protect that Pinochet. Out of the war crimes, everything which he did, they protected him because it was a convention. Like what happened in 1980. We find that Smith was even living in Zimbabwe after his death. He died in Zimbabwe. No one put a finger on him because Mugabe came with this thing called reconciliation. It was a progress to make Zimbabwe prosperous. So we need to hear such things in Mnangagwa's speech, things which we want to say. Is he there to say, let it go? If it is yours, it will fly back to you. That is what we want in this speech. That is what everyone wants in this speech. We want a speech which guarantees democracy, which guarantees security of the country. So that is what we are expecting in his speech as the people of Zimbabwe. We are expecting to hear there is going to be democracy is restored. We want to hear a speech that the constitution is going to be relooked. Not in the way Mugabe had made it. Because you remember Mangwana and this other guy from DMT, when they were making the constitution, they used to argue. You saw that documentary, they were arguing that some things should not be changed. Should not be changed. Because, and he said, why? And he said, they are coming from my chefs. You know, I can disappear at any moment. He was saying it in that documentary, not knowing he was being filmed. So we know in the constitution there are some places which are restoring fear and restoring power to Mugabe and to ZANU-PF. We need those things to be taken off and to be placed with things of democracy, to be placed with what the people of Zimbabwe want. So this is a new era. This is what we expect from Mnangagwa. This is what we want you to people to take this video and put it, and it gets in the ears of Mnangagwa. That what Zimbabweans are waiting for. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So,
Can I ask you a question then? Can I ask you a question? We know that there was the G40 faction and there was La Coste faction, right?
Yeah.
Although they are not official factions, but we know they are there. And we know that both of them were involved in bringing this country to where it is now. Obviously, the G40 were stealing, but so was Lacoste. So some of those people in Lacoste are just as bad as the ones in G40, and we know they have taken a considerable amount of wealth. So would you recommend some kind of an amnesty? Otherwise, we're going to arrest. Otherwise, all of those people, including Mnangagwa himself, we don't know what he's got. We don't know if he's got something that he needs to return. So can we suggest
Mnangagwa, I
let
want
me
to say
finish.
Mnangagwa
Let me
is
finish.
Mnangagwa. Okay.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Then you can say everything. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, would you recommend? I know you talked about reconciliation, and that's a political solution or social solution. But would you recommend amnesty? Maybe we say for the next 6 months. Can if you have got more than one farm, can you surrender the rest and remain with one? If you've stolen money, if you've got 3 billion, can you surrender at least 60% of that money? Can we do something like that? Because we know that most of those guys are loaded, and some of that money, it was stolen, it belongs to the state, and some of those farms or whatever, those are things that belong to the state. Can we have an amnesty at least, so that some of that wealth is returned? Because I don't think it will be fair just to carry on as normal. William? I think. Let me try to invite him back. Okay, where's William? Let's look for William. Bring you on camera. Let's try again. So I was just asking you, did you get my full question? Because you froze.
No, I think I put the charger. So I think the charger went to intercept this thing. So
okay.
I didn't hear the last part. I didn't hear the last part.
Right. So I was just asking about what you think about a general amnesty, so that we give guys a chance to at least bring some of that stolen wealth back, so that everyone else can benefit. Because obviously those guys, some of them, they've got a lot of wealth, and this is one of the things which can help to keep them in power, because it is these resources which the MDC does not, or opposition does not have. But these guys have got these resources that they can use for elections and to fund the elections and win outright. So would you also, what do you think about us having that, maybe we say for the next 6 months, let's give these guys an amnesty, allow them to bring maybe 60% of whatever they've stolen, or at least to declare their assets. For example, Mnangagwa, can you declare your assets as president of the country, so that we know? And can you give some of it back? Because if you've got more than one farm, you can't. It's unfair. What do you say?
That is the truth on its truth, and that is sometimes maybe what we came here and we are digesting. Remember what we are saying here. It is also going to go in the ears of Mnangagwa. I can see some people here well connected to Honorable Mnangagwa here. So those things are going in the ears of Mnangagwa. So it's a quite accepted thing, which should also come in the speech of Mnangagwa, that we need that. I mean, we need I was talking with somebody yesterday, I think a white guy, who was saying, what are you going to do with Mugabe? Did you like him dead or what? I said, no, he's just an old man. And I think even to put him in prison, he won't even feel the prison. He's just like there, frail. So, but he said,
He won't
you can
even
see
last.
frailty in him, but what about the farms which he have? What about the money which is in the offshore accounts?
Yeah.
What are you going to do if you leave this guy alone? Because some action has to be done to Mugabe. And this is actually what we are saying, because we need to confiscate, even though he has been given amnesty though by Zimbabweans by resigning. He was given that resignation was an amnesty.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to take him out by force. So he had that option of amnesty. So, but we need all the monies to be frozen, which are in Malaysia, China. We need the government of China to cooperate with the government of Zimbabwe, Malaysia to cooperate with the government to give us back, the World Bank to cooperate with the government of Zimbabwe to give us back all this money to be confiscated and be given back to Zimbabweans. And now coming back into Zimbabwe, we want all these farms. Someone having 13 farms and I don't know, Katsukwera, how many farms he have? Maybe 20. Chombo, how many houses does he have? We will need all these assets to be put back into the government, to be given back to the government, to be taken by the government, and they need to be auctioned and to benefit the people of Zimbabwe. And you never know, all that 15 billion was used for all those things. So that 15 billion will have to be brought back to its position, and it does its job. So that is one thing which has come into Mnangagwa's speech. We are waiting for that, and I think it is a very vital contribution. And a part of the first one, which I said, the contribution of let it go, and it will fly back if it is yours. So Mnangagwa, remember, one thing I want to say.
There's a comment you want to.
Mnangagwa had forgotten. Let us say Mnangagwa had forgotten anything about Zimbabwean politics. Look, he is somebody who had been thrown into a dungeon, someone who had been thrown, I don't know, into a cave.
Yeah.
And he never thought in his life or dreamed to be a president as he did when these things happened. So it was just a miracle to Mnangagwa to be where he is right now. It was just a miracle. Understand? So he should not misfortune this miracle by doing the unexpected. He should just see the way he had gone and see that as also an opportunity to give democracy to Zimbabwe. If he does that, who knows? He will be conquering. He will be like an aeroplane conquering dynamics, conquering to fly, conquering to go up. He will be lifting up himself. By doing that, you never know. People will say, okay, ZANU have reformed. Me, I'll vote for ZANU, or me, I'll vote for MDC, because everyone will be doing competition of showing how their policies which can build Zimbabwe. Everyone, not because they are fearing this or because of that or because of that. Everyone will be doing this. So you never know. By that, Mnangagwa can turn a miracle into a more miracle. If he does that, or even he can say, look, I'm going to put Chiwenga to be president. Who will say no to Chiwenga? Who will say no in Zimbabwe right now? Everyone will say, this is the hero who did everything.
Right.
So they would have uplifted ZANU in a way. You know what I'm saying? So this is the game of politics. This is how the game is played. If they've got a good coach.
Right. Do you want to react to this comment from Lester? He says, guys, let's move on. Do you know there are people in opposition with more than one farm and they keep thousands in cash at home? And he also says that's not true. Remember his first press statement when he said he will be back in a few weeks, and true to his word. I think is referring to Mnangagwa. I still think that some kind of, we need accountability in the country. And the only way to do that is to have an amnesty. So we're not saying let's arrest people, because otherwise we're going to arrest a lot of people who have committed, who have taken more than they deserve, who have money outside the country, who have assets, who have farms, who have stands, who have houses. But if we say let's have a general amnesty for the good of the country, why can't we do that? Because I think that is it will be fair on those guys also, because we're saying keep enough just for one person, for your one family. Why have 13 farms if it's just one family? That's unfair, because no one earns enough money to buy 13 farms. So obviously there was some kind of grabbing of those properties, and we're saying just give back. Why can't we just give back a little bit, or give back, or maybe 60% or 80% or whatever we come up with? But there has got to be some kind of amnesty.
I believe very well. I believe very well. Mnangagwa is going to do that, because, as I said, Mnangagwa had gone. He had also left his farms and his riches in Zimbabwe. He had left everything. Remember, these people have got empires outside Zimbabwe. They've got private houses outside Zimbabwe, and we don't know. Even we say declare, these houses are still there. These offshore accounts are still there. To trace them is quite difficult. They are opened in cousins' names, in our Zukuru's names. It's very difficult to trace those things. So we want Mnangagwa also to cry that we should have a pouring of money from the International Monetary Funding, World Bank, to pour some amounts of money into Zimbabwe, into the development of Zimbabwe. Because those monies which have gone there, I'm telling you, to trace them, it will cost more than amount to trace those monies in the offshore accounts. Those things will be just like a fortunate thing. They will be traced if we've got some whistleblowers somehow. It is very difficult to trace those things. So what we cry for is Mnangagwa to say in his speeches, where we need as much as investors to come in our country. Our country now is transformed. You can see there is security of your whatever, your business and everything. We are going to show it. We are going to say whatever any government of hierarchy, if they say democracy is like this is what we are going to follow, because Chiwenga's mandate was that the country has collapsed, the economic has collapsed, and we just want people to have food on their mouth. We want people to have employment. How is employment going to come in Zimbabwe? It's not going to come by confiscating those farms, by taking those offshore accounts. We want investors now. We want all these people who had gone outside overseas, or like me and you, Derek. Let me just say to people, me and Derek, we have been in Cuba. We were in the same class. We wrote the same thesis. My thesis was, I was working with Derek when I did my thesis in Cuba, and he is right here doing teaching, doing these things, and we need to go to Zimbabwe to make progress to our country. So it's not me and Jericho. There are many people, doctors, nurses, and everyone who is going. We would like now this speech to convey the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, to come in Zimbabwe, invest in Zimbabwe, to offer those people who are out of Zimbabwe to come to have the same pay they are getting outside, everything. Zimbabwe to be where it was in 1980, to make as possible the goodness which we are looking for. It happens when there is money, when there is employment, when there is that development. You see, that's what I'm thinking as well. So
there is a comment from Douglas. He says Mnangagwa would have been the operator. He must have had a clout. Lester says, did you know that ED was living in a hotel till he got a safe house? I don't know whether that's in exile recently or when is that. And he says, what properties are you on about? I don't think that any of us has got like the actual evidence of what properties these people have, whether in Zimbabwe or outside. But we're saying surely there was looting taking place, surely. And if there was looting taking place, let's have some of those, some of that capital back, because it's going to benefit a new Zimbabwe. That's all we are saying. Can there be an amnesty? I mean, it's up to Mnangagwa what he's going to do, but it's just a suggestion to say, look, if as everyone believes there's been looting of resources and properties and land, can we have some of that back? Can we offer these guys, instead of arresting them and confiscating,
definitely.
can we
Exactly.
offer an amnesty, maybe 6 months, to say in 6 months, can you return what you think, or maybe 75% of whatever you've unlawfully.
Another thing, Derek, because we
Yeah.
are just repeating there, we are circulating. Another thing is, what is MDC supposed to do in this process, which we are going to go? And Mnangagwa has been announced that he is being inaugurated on the 24th, on Friday, as president of Zimbabwe. Now, how is his government? As we thought there was going to be a transitional government, is it going to be obvious that the people were being used by ZANU? I've seen a video of Chino Timba there saying this was a ZANU PF thing. We impeached Mugabe. He didn't even know what he was, a clue what is impeachment. He didn't even have a clue that they were not be able to impeach Mugabe because of their numbers. Because the constitution talks about two-thirds of the parliament to do that, and it's a long process. So Mugabe was not impeached. He resigned out of the pressure of the masses of the people of Zimbabwe. So this is what the people are forgetting. So we want to know if Mnangagwa has been inaugurated as president on Friday. Are we certain that there is going to be elections on the 12th of December? This is just around the corner. The elections, is it? Where the elections to be held on the, the elections were said to be held on the 12th of December. I don't know, somewhere there, just around the corner, these elections, or 2018 or in January, I don't know where, but the elections were about to be held in Zimbabwe. Are they going to be continued? Or we are going to wait for these processes which we are talking, Derek, about this amnesty, all this, and we forget about elections, and we focus on the things of making this government. We focus on making this thing to work, to put platform for good, fair elections. Is Mnangagwa going to remove Mudede from that place where he is? Is Mnangagwa going to remove the ZEC, everything, all that? Is all those things?
Yeah, I think we can only wait for Friday before we speculate too much. We can wait for Friday and see what his speech is going to be.
No. Derek, it's not about speculation, but you remember what we discuss here on these platforms on Facebook. They make a great change back in Zimbabwe. They will be listening to what we'll be saying. Don't think even they are not here. They will look at these videos. They will look at what people are saying. So those contributions we are doing, they will change things. I've seen those things happening in my eyes.
Yeah,
so
I think it's
those things we are saying.
I think it's a good thing we are having this conversation. I wanted to comment on investment from the IMF and all that. I think we have to be careful with organizations like the IMF, because if you look at Zimbabwe, for example, there's a lot of capital which is in the country, which we call debt capital, which means it's capital which is there, but it's not in the mainstream economy. So before we start jumping around and looking for money, because most of our problems, they come from the fact that we get money from outside and we abuse that money. Or it's designed that they know that if they give us the money, we're going to abuse it, and we know that that's what's been happening with government officials. The accountability has been terrible. So I think before we jump to start looking for monies outside, let's look for money within. Let's look for capital within the country. For example, the rural population is around 70%. And the rural population is not really involved in the mainstream economy. If you go to your neighbor in the rural areas and you buy a goat, you buy a goat or you buy a cow, That transaction is it's off the grid, it's off the books. No one knows that that transaction has taken place. The finance minister has no clue that has happened. The government has no clue. So those transactions, for example, if that transaction could be recorded, then the government could tax that transaction. But it's something which is happening in rural areas and it's not being recorded. Then we have our rural homes, which rural people cannot use their houses. For example, if you are in town, for example, you can use your house as collateral for getting a loan or something like that. But in the rural areas with your round heart, you can't use it because if you go to a bank and you say you want a mortgage, you can't even get a mortgage for a rural home. So those are some assets which are not in the mainstream economy. I can tell you an example of Nigeria. You remember when Nigeria, when they leapfrogged South Africa to become the biggest economy in Africa, it was because all they did was to recalculate their economy, to look at their economy and look at all the debt capital, and then they just leapfrogged South Africa at that point. It was not something that we saw that it was gradually growing, but they just said, oh, let's look at this economy again. And when they did that, they leapfrogged South Africa.
Apart of development, because we are looking at, because some of these things, they come when you first also put the first stone, and then the other stone come, and then we have a house is put foundation, and then when after foundation it goes bricks, window level, it's going to be put the roof, and that's how the house comes. After putting the roof, the house is going to be plastered, the house is going to be painted. There are many things which happens after another step, after another step, after another step. So so those decorations, whatever we are doing, we want to find at this moment, is Mnangagwa going to say MDC we are going to form a transitional government whereby he's going to call Tsvangirai, whereby he's going to call Dabengwa, whereby he's going to call Mujuru to form a transition government. It is in his hands at the moment to make this progress, which all the people of Zimbabwe will go in the street and re-celebrate again, like the way they celebrated when Mugabe went. Because for now, if Mnangagwa says he's going to form his government with his ZANU-PF only, we are going towards elections. Do we think these elections will be fair and fair, free and fair? Would they be credible? Or
I think
even the generals, will they like the outcome of the elections? Because you remember, the generals, they were saying they are doing these things for ZANU. So if ZANU doesn't come on power, and it's MDC which comes on power, is that going to happen in Zimbabwe? So this is where the problem is at the moment. That's where everyone is looking, everybody, any government, anyone who wants to help Zimbabwe is looking at that press at the moment. So in order to cheat the world, to cheat investors, the opposition, the people, the ZANU, we should unite together and make this project the way the 5-dimension project, which we were talking about our differences, harmonies, everything come together. We put Zimbabwe for the next 2 years, or for the next 3 years, or for the next 5 years. We want Mnangagwa to say these things, to come with this idea. This is the idea of Zimbabweism. So not to come back again with the idea of Mugabeism. Which I can still in the minds. Tsvangirai yesterday on the podium, he talked to the war veterans. I heard him. He said, "I don't know the war veteran was. Sorry, I forget their names. Muchangwa and the other one." He said, what we want is, what we want is, MDC to be involved. MDC is willing to help." To push Mugabe as well. Everyone wants this, but we want the after Mugabe to be all right. It was said in these war veterans, everyone was hearing this. And these are our leaders, which we are talking about, and this is their thought. And if we see this thing diverting, we are going to see bloodshed in our country again. I don't think Chiwenga is going to like that.
Right. Lester says he likes my observation on debt capital. Thanks, Lester. And then Azna Annie Jones, ko Grace akava atanga kudana na namnangagwa. Toita say disaster. I think the people will match
because
all right. As is na Lester, Chinyanga, this one is for you. Anzi, did you read Emerson Mnangagwa's last press statement? He talked about inclusiveness. So I think he's aware that he needs to include the opposition in whatever he's going to do. So we expect to see that in the speech.
So we are expecting to see that in the speech. So because Derek, one thing I want to tell you, the power of these conversations, they are taken. We are not mandating, but the power of these conversations are very powerful. I have seen them happening in my eyes. Whatever I say sometimes on a live video, I found it being done the next day or the next hours happening, because these people, so they will be looking in the ground. They will be looking at what people are saying. You see.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to be aware of is that we need to start taking social media more seriously, because social media is nothing more than exactly what we've been doing for a long time, but it has just made it easier. For example, I look at this video, this live stream, and to me, it's not just a Facebook live stream. To me, it's the same as Sky News, is the same as ZBC, is the same as any media organization. So basically, this is like TV. Because if someone is watching this instead of watching the TV right now, it means that they are finding more value in what we're talking about than, for example, some story which is on BBC right now, which they have got nothing to do with. So I think people have got to a stage now where the internet has enabled us to have these platforms where we can basically become our own radio stations, our own television stations. I remember once, before all this thing started, there are these guys, Vana Pasta, is it Comic Pasta? You know Comic Pasta, that one? What's his name? Prosper something. That guy, his Facebook page, his Facebook videos were getting more views than Mana ZBC. ZBC only started getting many views now after General Chiwenga went, and when they went to the ZBC studios and they took over for about a day or two, and then they gave it back to ZBC, and then ZBC was now streaming what's happening on the streets. So they were reporting.
Let's go. I know the people
became more prominent.
Let's go back to the topic. Yes, I know these people, they sometimes make me fakoro, because sometimes they say you are going away now. We are wasting our bytes and whatever gigabytes. Listen to Progress and you are talking though.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes you need to stick to the topic.
Yes, so another thing out of the, because we have got Lister here, we saying Mnangagwa's last statement said he wanted inclusiveness, which is quite immaculate, and also our other outcry, other outcry is we the people some people are not unhappy with the removal of Mugabe, because the removal of Mugabe, sometimes it was the removal of Mugabe, sometimes it was good for other people, not the G40 people. Like I'm talking about people in diaspora, people who are looking for asylum, you see, and their papers are not still there. They said, oh my God, we are going to have a next plane home. I remember when Tsvangirai went to form his government, he came to Britain here. And you remember what happened? He said, "Oh, it's good now. Go back to Zimbabwe." He's telling the number 10 Downing Street what he got was eggs. Remember, people throw eggs on him. Eggs and eggs. Yeah. I'm not just talking about Britain. I'm talking about people in Canada, people in South Africa, people in America.
Yeah, but
Australia.
But I don't think that's immediate, because we still have to see what sort of leadership Mnangagwa is going to provide. Remember, Mnangagwa is from the same party. Same party with Robert Mugabe. They worked together for more than 50 years. So I don't think it will be immediate that people just say, "Oh, Kumbakwabo," and people are going back home.
Yes.
Zimbabweans back home. I think there will be a period where they are assessing the situation, they are monitoring, and then when they feel that now the country has really changed, maybe some people will go home. I know people who have not been able to go home. When their loved ones pass away, they can't go and mourn their loved ones because their papers are not in order. So it's one of the things now. People have become more hopeful now because maybe they can finally go home and pay their respects to their loved ones who have passed away.
Yes. So what also I can to add on those things, is people should gain as much confidence, as you said, that is not an immediate, that tomorrow a Boeing 77 is waiting from a British Boeing 77, French or Canadian 77 is waiting to ferry all Zimbabweans who don't have enough particulars to go back home. It is not going to happen, because the way, if Mnangagwa does good dialogues, and the new government does good dialogues with the diaspora, with the other governments, because we really know, they are all aware that there's about 4 or 5 million people outside Zimbabwe. BBC was repeating these things. 4 or 5 million outside Zimbabwe, and some have no papers.
You're frozen again. Let's see. I might remove you again, William, and add you back. So when we get back, or when he comes back, let me see if he's nearby. There he is. Okay.
Yeah, ndaenda pamene zvaita ipapo, but I'm always back until tine nharo dzinenge dzamugabe chichiramba kuresign.
Yeah, but I quite enjoyed the way that it actually happened, in that eventually it was a peaceful resignation. He was safe from the public, and the public were happy. There was no damage to property and stuff like that, except a few of his posters. I saw this video, you'll see it on my wall, of some girls who went into Sheraton Hotel, where the MPs and the senators were doing the impeachment proceedings, and they took this picture of him and they took it outside and smashed it on the floor and were stamping on it. So those are the only cases that I've seen of violence. I can't remember what I wanted.
Was it violent?
I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about. In fact, I wanted to ask you before I forget about what do you think will be Mnangagwa's position on the diaspora vote? Because I remember when he was still deputy president, he ruled out that the diaspora will be given a vote. What do you think is going to happen? Because I would definitely campaign for that.
So that is the same thing which we are talking about, the diaspora people, about their asylums, and that Mnangagwa should protect those asylum people. They've been working very hard for Zimbabwe. They were the ones who were sustaining the economy of Zimbabwe as we speak. So there should be dual citizenship. By dual citizenship, someone should have a citizenship of the other country where he is, and if he is born Zimbabwean, that Zimbabwean, that nationality should not be taken away from them. So that indicates that they will have dual citizenship. So dual citizenship must be allowed in Zimbabwe to expose Democrats, to put Democrats on side. In Britain, I know British have got dual citizenship. They can be citizens in Africa and in Britain. Anyway, so we need dual citizenship in Zimbabwe, and automatically the voting system, if you are a citizen, you will be allowed to vote. So if there's dual citizenship, means Zimbabwe is now aware that there are citizens outside the country, and those citizens can vote too. It used to happen. I remember, you remember, Derek, when we were in Cuba, we were asked to vote, but though we never voted, those things were done by Mutambara. He just voted for us and sent back the box. And sent back the box. He put all the X's on ZANU-PF for us and sent back the box. You remember it happened. So so that.
So I think those guys who are abusing the post, I'm surprised. Wimbai is everyone, she knows her now. It's unfortunate that she has decided to do that in public. We still need to maintain our rule of law. You know,
what were these people doing? Can you tell me? I didn't see that.
If you go to my wall, you'll see the video. They took those portraits of Mugabe.
Yeah.
They took that and they smashed it on the ground outside of the pavement, and then they started stamping on it.
That's correct. That's good. At that moment, it was good. That was showing people it was showing the aggressiveness, people that they don't want Mugabe. So it was good. People were doing that in the army. Everyone was allowing that. I've seen a video when people took that thing or poster at the ZANU-PF headquarters. They removed those papers of Mugabe, whatever posters, everything was smashed, removed. We are left with the airport. People wanted to go to the airport to remove those letters of Mugabe International Airport. People wanted to do that, but they were stopped by the army. So it was part of the revolution. It was not violence. Violence is when people are killed, when people are beaten in the process. So no one was beaten. Everyone was doing what they want.
I think we can close now, William.
Okay.
Just want to thank some of these people who have been watching. Stanley Makweche, muchas gracias, compadre.
Muchas gracias, Mambi.
Thank you, Leader Bernard Matongo. Thank you, Colonel. And William, thank you for joining me and making this more lively.
And thank you, Lista Msipa had been contributing a lot
for
there.
Your questions. Thank you very much, Lester. You were there all the time, and you asked and made a lot of contributions. That's good. And Brighton as well at the start. Brighton Sangoya and Douglas Tobaiwa.
Matongo.
I'll phone you in a minute. Yes, thank you, Bernard, and thank you, Annie Jones. Thank you guys for watching this. I'll be back again later in the evening. Aluta continua.
Aluta continua.